all of you, especially Mohsin who came from Pakistan, especially for this purpose, and Dr. Deveshana and Aisha Ijaz, and all the representatives of press here in London. I am your co-host. My name is Tanveer Afzal, and on behalf of Pakistan Solidarity Campaign, which is an initiative on the part of political workers from Pakistan who are here in UK, and we try to show our solidarity with the downtrodden and oppressed people of Pakistan, irrespective of their ethnicity, their geographical background, and we do whatever we can for advocacy of their basic human rights that are guaranteed under the Constitution of Islamic Republic of Pakistan and all the international covenant, especially UDHR and Bills of Rights. So according to that framework, we try whatever is possible for us, and this talk on Pashtun, the first movement, Mohsin on right-based struggle in Pakistan is one part of that, and I am especially thankful to Dr. Deveshana for hosting this event on behalf of the Center of Study of Democracy, University of Westminster, London. I think almost everybody of you is aware of the Pashtun Tahfuz movement. No need to introduce. For me, it is a natural and spontaneous result of the events that have been taking place there in federally administered tribal area in Pakistan for almost 2 decades, and there are generations who have grown up to see all that turmoil and disturbances and displacement and war and heavily bombardment from the state machinery of Pakistan, and the most tragic thing about that situation in FATA is that we don't have any credible way to know what is happening there because of the complete or semi-blackout most of the time. And it is through, personal resources that we can have a picture, but I don't claim to have a clear picture, frankly. This talk, I think, would make us better aware of the situation, and it is part of our struggle to continue the dialogue and situation analysis and find the whatever possible solution for us and engage the people in advocacy and awareness about their rights within our limited resources. Obviously, it is private individual. It is not any funded activity or any. We are just people from working class here in the UK. So one of our other initiatives is that to engage the students, young people, and especially the students in the universities of UK who are Pakistani, from Pakistani origin, and we are in the process of starting a perception survey on the human rights situation in Pakistan, and it is not very encouraging. I regret to intimate that the situation is the situation of awareness of the rights is not so encouraging, even among the educated youth. So it is our duty to make them aware. So we are in a process of completing that perception survey and starting course, a syllabus to make them aware, starting from the student here and then eventually in Pakistan. It would be web-based courses, online courses in PDF format or eventually maybe in video form, to at least to make them aware. And I mean, they could come to know what are the circumstances and what are the causes that that result in that huge violation of human rights in Pakistan. The state of Pakistan has never been pro-people throughout our history, and it is a very sad reality of our society, we must admit, and we should do whatever we can for its to remedy the situation. So I won't take very long. So I will hand over to Dr. Divesh Anand to invite the guests, and I thank all of my honored guests again.
Thank you, Pakistan Solidarity Campaign, for first approaching me about this thing. And the context, from some of you may know me, most of you will not. I'm Professor Divesh Anand. I'm from the Center for Study of Democracy, University of Westminster. And the reason why we were quite keen on hosting this, of course, we knew about the PTM movement, but more crucially, we have been supporting, and I'm saying we are very clear, supporting rights-based movements in different parts of the world. So we have been a department and a school that has hosted the Dalai Lama from Tibet. We've hosted Parveena Ahangar, who is an activist from Indian occupied Kashmir, whose son was disappeared by the Indian state, and she has been fighting for the rights of the parents whose children have been disappeared. We invited her 3 different times in various points in time. If you look at this key, anyone knows what this is? This is Palestine-related thing. 1948, so when many Palestinians left the homeland, they thought they'll come back to the home. So they went with the key thinking they're going to come back, and they have never returned. So this is partly to remember Nakba, the catastrophe that happened vis-a-vis there. So you could see Palestine, we are talking of Kurdistan. So personally, my own research is largely around Hindu nationalism and Hindu fascism in India. Research is around Tibet and rights in China. It is around the Indian occupation of Kashmir. It's a colonial practice of post-colonial states. That's my own research. Within our school, and I think we will be rare school and rare department that has various people working on the rights of different groups in different parts of the world, who are looking after not only constitutional kind of thing which you are part of, but also those who don't belong to the state, don't feel they belong to the state. I'm giving an example of Kashmir, right? We are unapologetic about hosting events that are talking of rights, because there's a strong disconnect between, and you highlighted that, there's a strong disconnect between people and the state in various parts of the world. So the agenda, therefore, for us is to humanize the state. So the way I see PTM, and I've been following what the kind of thing you've done, it's trying to humanize the state. It's trying to make the state a better place, right? It's trying to fulfill the potential of the state. And yet, of course, the reaction, you would know more, and I'll leave the main speaker to talk about it, but look at the way in which state is controlled by, hijacked by special interest group then who claim to speak for the state, right? So my hope is that, of course, I'll leave to the speakers to talk about it, and of course, it's going to be brief speeches, then I'll have a couple of questions for the main speaker, then open up to the audience. Few ground rules, please bear that in mind. Switch off your mobile phone in terms of you should not get a call or someone saying, oh, which direction to take, that's one. Number 2, and it happens by mistake, so please switch off that, or at least put on silent mode. Number 2, and we discussed that we have differences. We're fine if you're recording the speakers here, but please do not turn the camera towards the audience. Do not take photograph of the audience, and that's the reason why we are saying that. Some of you are fine with it, some of you are not comfortable with it, and therefore we would request you all not to take photo of the audience, right? So you can take our photo, you can record us the way you want to, but don't record the audience, that's the important thing. And third, fire exit, we have to tell you can see the fire exit there. If something, alarm goes off, there's no alarm testing going on, so we have to leave the room. It has happened only once, but I'm used to it. Whenever I've organized events related to China and Tibet, we've had fire alarms going on, right? And when the Chinese embassy not far from here, I can read the conspiracy there. And final thing I'll point out is regarding PTM, as I said, for me it's about rights-based thing. And as a university, we are quite proud of what we do. We do not believe in dispassionate education of the kind where people can be killed, people can be disappeared, people can be raped, people can be tortured, and we write only theories around it. We strongly believe in giving platform to those in fighting for rights of different people in different parts of the world. We may have own disagreement, that's fine, but the important thing is a platform to listen to each other learn from each other. On that note, let me invite next speaker, Aisha here, because she's the one who, she'll introduce PTM to us, right? And you can also introduce yourself. She's a writer, she's a lawyer, she has written various things, and there's a long bio which I'm not going to read because you've read that on Eventbrite. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Divesh. As someone who's been following Pakistan's politics and writing about it for the last 10 to 12 years, I'm fascinated by the fact that we have this grassroots organic rights movement originating from the tribal areas of Pakistan. The Pashtun Hafiz movement represents a people who have lived in a war zone for nearly the last 2 decades. And while it's true that people all over Pakistan have suffered because of the Talibanization and the ensuing war on terror, including, of course, military families and families of police personnel, nevertheless, it is the people of the tribal areas who have suffered the most because it was their area that was affected the most. So first, they suffered at the hands of the Taliban, when they saw death, destruction, displacement, and then they suffered at the hands of the security agencies when they were harassed at checkposts as they were traveling back home and sometimes picked up and turned into missing people. The PTM is not a very old movement, it's only about a year old, and it really came together when Naqibullah Masood was shot in Karachi, and this only happened in January of last year. It's really in the aftermath of that high-profile murder, because Naqibullah was, as many of you must know, an ethnic Pashtun who was an aspiring model. And he was wrongly profiled as a terrorist and killed in a police encounter. In the aftermath of that murder is when the movement really galvanized. And then many people who had similar stories to tell, mainly Pashtuns, but also some others, came together and started rallying all across Pakistan. What is remarkable, however, is that in spite of all the violence these people have seen, they are committed to non-violence. And they believe in a peaceful means of protest. Despite being provoked several times, the movement has been committed to non-violence, and I hope that that remains the case. In that sense, it's defying a common but unfortunate stereotype, that of the militarized Pashtun. As Manzoor Pashtun recently put it, when the Pashtun carries a gun, he gets coverage. But when he talks of peace, he gets no coverage. For me, this alone is very inspirational, this idea of a non-violent, peaceful Pashtun. And anyone who believes that the National Action Plan should be implemented in Pakistan, as we often hear that it should be, and especially in light of the recent India-Pakistan crisis, also it was reiterated many times that we need to implement the National Action Plan, then movements like PTM should be natural allies in moving young people away from radicalization, extremism, militarization, and towards healthy engagement or based on political expression and participation, and very importantly, and the idea that the citizen must ask the state for a guarantee of its rights within the framework of the Pakistani constitution. The other very significant stereotype that this movement defies, and that I personally find very appealing, is the one that Pashtuns like to keep their women away from public life. Yet in PTM we find that many of their high-profile activists are women. I can think of several. Gulala Ismail, for instance, who was a women's rights advocate and has been very active with the PTM. Recently, she was picked up and detained for several hours. Her family did not know where she was. because of her affiliation with the PTM, and was only released after a lot of hype was created on social media. Then there is the case of Sana Ijaz, who worked for the state broadcaster, the PTV, and her employment was terminated because she refused to end her affiliation with the PTM, yet she took a stand and she continued to participate in PTM activities. And most importantly, there is Varanga Loni, who is the sister of Arman Loni, who was recently killed in Balochistan. And he, of course, was a women's rights advocate and a professor in his own right. And soon after his death, he saw in a faraway place like Qila Saifullah, his sister leads a mammoth rally, perhaps the first time in a place like that that a woman has done so. I find these social changes that PTM is really a catalyst for really inspiring and worth paying attention to. And other Pakistanis deserve to know about this movement. They deserve to know about the changes that are coming forth from the Pashtun community. But unfortunately, what we see in Pakistan is a complete media blackout of the movement. I've personally been told by newspaper editors that they cannot run commentary on PTM. They cannot run stories beyond very basic reporting on PTM. So those who actually represent the movement, people like Mohsin, who though he has a place in the national legislature, he represents, of course, the people of North Waziristan in the National Assembly, he cannot go on the media and talk about his movement. And while others who wish to demean or malign the movement have every right to do so. So this is very unfair. Not only is it unfair, it is dangerous. Because by placing media bans, we are not going to disappear the movement. The movement continues to gain traction, not only amongst Pashtuns, but also non-Pashtuns. I would like to mention the case of Amar Ali Jan, a professor from Lahore, who recently came out to protest also the death of Arman Loni, in which case, by the way, there is no FIR has still been registered. And he called his movement the Shahri Tahaffuz movement. And he was arrested for about a day. Earlier, he had his invitation to the Fairs International Festival pulled. So by placing bans on the media, by trying to block these voices out from the national discourse, we will not disappear the movement, but we will polarize society. We will create further divisions amongst people instead of unifying them, because they will not know what the other side is saying, and they will have to rely only on a propagandized version. So if we want to strengthen democracy in Pakistan, it is very important that we hear all sides. And if we want to move away from the status quo, and we want to move away from dynastic power structures, then we should encourage movements like PTM. And with that, I think I will pass it on to Mohsin, who can tell us more about the movement and where it is headed.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to everyone for coming here. First of all, I would like to thank Center of Democracy, the University of Westminster, Pakistan Solidarity Campaign, and also a few friends who have, because of whom now today this event has been arranged. I would like to thank Osama Munir, Asim Shah, Tanveer Afzal, Dr. Devesh Anand, and of course Aisha Ijaz Khan. Before I go ahead, I would like to pay a rich tribute to one of our very prominent and effective comrade, Arman Looney, who was extrajudicially killed by police almost more than a month ago. And 2 days ago, we have observed the 40th day of his death in almost all the big cities of Pakistan and everywhere in the world. I will use this opportunity to introduce my people and talk with you about my people, Pashtuns, who have been sacrificed over and over again at the altar of greater good. Whether it was our British colonial masters using us as a buffer against the Russians, or presently the Pakistani state using us to gain strategic depth in Afghanistan. To ensure our compliance, we are presently being subjected to tactics that haven't changed much from the colonial times. Thousands of Pashtuns have been declared missing, a word that can be translated as abducted by the state. Thousands more have been murdered extrajudicially by state agencies. Our villages are dotted with landmines left by our military. When we visit Pakistan proper, our ethnicity makes us instant suspects in the eyes of the authorities. When we go back to our villages, we are greeted by outsiders in uniform, interrogating us on why we want to go back to our homes. Human history tells us that there is limit to the patience of any oppressed race or ethnicity. Whether it was the civil rights movement in the United States, South Africa, or anywhere else, there's always a tipping point after which a group says enough. The tipping point for the Pashtuns came with the extrajudicial murder, as explained earlier by Aisha Ejaz. It started with the extrajudicial murder of an aspiring model, Naqibullah Mahsood, who, like many other Pashtuns, was fleeing the chaos of war for a better life in Karachi. He was part of the exodus that was a direct result of the military operations in that area. His death was also not unique, as thousands before have been killed in the same manner. In fact, his murder, one police officer, Rao Anwar, is suspected to have killed about 444 people extrajudicially, according to an official report. The death of Naqib marked the moment when we Pashtuns said enough. And out of our united resolve came the Pashtun Tahaffuz movement under the leadership of the young, brave, and articulate Manzoor Ahmad Pashtun. The desperation of Pashtuns in Pakistan can be gauged in the demands of Fitian. It might come as a shock to this audience that in this day and age, people would ask for such basic demands. Our first demand is to put an end to the extrajudicial killings that are committed by the security forces in the name of fighting terrorism. As I said earlier, Naqib is one of thousands of humans, one of thousands of Pashtuns who have been killed extrajudicially because someone in the uniform declared them as a terrorist. Our second demand is regarding the missing persons. These are people who we believe are abducted by state agencies over suspicions of terrorism. Our demand is not to release all such missing people, but at least to present them in the court of law, so that their guilt could be established and those who are innocent be allowed to walk free. I must add here that some of these missing persons have been missing for years, with no information about their whereabouts, and also whether they're dead or alive. Nobody knows about it. One can only imagine what that means for their loved ones. In this regard, I have also submitted a bill in the National Assembly of Pakistan to criminalize the enforced disappearances. But unfortunately, from the last almost 4 months, it always comes on the agenda of the National Assembly on a private member's day. But whenever it comes on the agenda, the House is adjourned. Our third demand is for the removal of landmines from our villages. It so happens that Pakistan military has left behind thousands of landmines in areas that it had declared as cleared for the civilians. And the cost of this deadly incompetence is paid mostly by our children in the form of losing limbs and sometimes their lives also. To be clear, we are not demanding an action against those who have left it behind. We just want them to be cleared. But despite these very basic demands, we have been responded with extreme high-handedness by the state. Recently, one of our most active comrades, about whom I spoke in the start of my speech, Arman Loni, who was murdered by a police officer, and the dilemma is that the police is yet to register the first information report of his murder. Before I was coming here, the police head of their province and the reps of the Home Department were called to the Human Rights Committee of Senate. And the Senate Standing Committee for Human Rights has directed the Home Department and the police to lodge the FIR of the murder of Arman Loni. But till now, FIR has not been registered. The only crime of Arman Loni was to arrange a rally against a militant attack on police. Now just imagine, his crime was to arrange a rally against a militant attack on police, and he was charged with cases and he was extrajudicially killed by a police officer. Other friends like Alamzir Masood, who was also whose only crime was just to speak to a rally in Karachi, and he was charged with terrorism clauses. And I myself has also been charged in many cities where we go for our rallies, and where we also demand the same things which I am telling you here. But what happened is that after each and every rally, cases are registered against us. In most of the cases, they include the clauses of terrorism. I still remember that when one of our friend Ali Wazir was attacked in Wana, some of our friends, including myself, we were protesting against that in Islamabad. On the next day, we came to know that the police had registered an FIR against us, which includes the clause of terrorism, 788 clause 7 of Anti-Terrorist Act. So it's a bit strange that in a country where you speak and talk against terrorism, where you condemn a terrorist attack of on one of our comrades, you will be charged with a terrorism case.
Shame.
The infamous, one of our other friends, Arif Wazir, and many others are languishing in jails on trumped-up charges because their actual crime of sloganeering and protest is not a crime as per law in Pakistan. The infamous exit control list, or ECL, which is a list of people barred from leaving Pakistan, has been used as a weapon to punish PTM. I myself, along with my other comrade in National Assembly, Ali Wazir, we were placed on ECL, but luckily our names got removed because of our status as a parliamentarian. But most of our other PTM comrades, they have suffered a lot because of it. Aisha just mentioned the name of Gulala Ismail. She is a known human rights and women's rights activist, and she has received many international awards also. Her name was on ECL for a very long time, and luckily yesterday she called me that her name has been removed. Alam Hayat Rival, one of our other friend, who was the sole earner of his family, who was a professional pharmacist in Dubai. When he came back, his name was placed on ECL, and many other friends, and also the name of Manzoor Ahmed Pashtun, who hasn't yet made his passport. His name has been placed on ECL, along with other many friends. All of this is being justified with allegations that PTM is being supported by foreign governments. These allegations are coming from some of the highest offices in Pakistan. Well, I will ask the audience here that whether they would need any foreign backing for demanding a fair trial for themselves. Whether you guys would need any foreign backing to demand that the playgrounds and the streets of the place where you are living must be cleaned from landmines. These are the very basic demands which PTM has been asking for. And whether you need any foreign backing to demand that their families not to be slaved, taken and abused on checkpoints and sexually harassed in their homes. These are the very basic demands that any group of people in this day and age would ask for themselves. However, PTM supporters are being branded as traitors in Pakistan for demanding these basic rights. This label of traitor or foreign agent carries with it so many costs. In its essence, it is meant to discredit the person from making his case. But here the state has failed miserably in discrediting the message of PTM amongst Pashtuns. The credit for that in many ways goes to the high-handedness of the state, which has made the message of PTM a clarion call for all Pashtuns in Pakistan who have been victims of the state, and they have come together regardless of their distinctions of race, sect, or even religion. The response is evident in the release of PTM, as despite of all the legal hurdles and a complete media blackout, the PTM has been able to leverage social media to arrange huge rallies across the country. Our gatherings provide a platform for all those whose voices have been muffled by the state. These are gatherings where speakers as well as the audience bond over mutual grief. Some come with the pictures of their missing relatives, others with the details of their loved ones who have been extrajudicially killed, and yet others talk about the imputations of their children who mistook landmines for toys. The stories are endless, and so are the tears. But yet, despite all the grief and anger, there are no call to arms, no threats of violence. The PTM is convinced over one thing, that our movement will remain non-violent, whatever the attitude and the response of the state is against us. The struggle of PTM is within the constitutional parameters of Pakistan, and our aim is to win the rights which are guaranteed by our constitution. Our struggle is that of human rights, and we will not stop until we are considered as equal citizens of the country. The benefits of PTM success will not be limited just to Pashtuns. All the oppressed identities in Pakistan will benefit from it, and in so doing, the continuation of the federation will be ensured. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohsin, for a very important speech. I think you highlighted various things. Can have water while I ask you a question. I have a couple of questions before I open it to the audience. The first one would be around, the way you talked about how Pashtuns in general, and of course others, but in your case you're talking Pashtuns, are seen as suspect communities, right? So they are suspected, so it's easier for the state to commit extrajudicial killings because they see them as suspect, especially around the war on terror. Now, how would you respond to someone who say, but you do not represent all Pashtuns because you also have a prime minister who is Pashtun himself? And you have got a number of Pashtuns who are in the Pakistani military, Pakistani state, Pakistani establishment, in all kinds of bureaucracy. So how would you respond to the claim that you only represent few aspects of Pashtun identity, and therefore for you to claim that Pashtuns are suspect community doesn't work because Pashtuns are very complicit in the state project?
Thank you very much. I think when we talk about the extrajudicial killings, when we talk about missing persons, we might not be representing all the Pashtuns in terms of their parliamentary representation. But whatever we have been talking is the facts when we talk about extrajudicial killings, we have many cases like that.
Sorry. I didn't get your part where you said that the representation of the in the parliament. I didn't get your point.
Okay, can you answer the question? You can ask
this is
Yes,
part
yes.
of the question.
Well, I was saying that, as he said in his question, that there are many Pashtuns in Pakistan, and you are not representing all of them. In response to that, I said that yes, in terms of parliamentary representation, because PTM is a non-parliamentary, and I consider this election as an independent candidate. But our demand, whatever we have been demanding, is like supported by facts. Naqibullah Masood, the death of Naqibullah Masood is very much like in a broad daylight. And also the GIT, the Joint Investigation Team constituted after the murder of Naqibullah Masood, it says that Rawal Nawaz has been involved in more than 444 such kind of cases, and majority of them are Pashtuns. Similarly, in this war on terror, we have lost many of our tribal areas, like more than 1,000 of our tribal areas have lost their lives. These kind of cases happens, and it used to happen on almost daily basis before PTM came to be. But now, whatever is happening, PTM is highlighting it. Naqibullah Masood was killed, it was highlighted. And Arman Luli, he was killed, it has been highlighted. And everybody knows. Still, instead of highlighting it on such a big level, protesting in almost every city of the country, protesting across the world, still the state is yet to register the FIR in the Arman Luli case. Now just imagine in the cases of those people who do not have any political connections and who do not have any political backings, and who the cases which were not heard, or about which only few people know. So just imagine what would have been the fate of those people who do not have any affiliation, or whatever happened before the creation of Pashtun Tahfuz movement.
So the way I see, from what I understand, you're saying that PTM does not claim to represent all Pashtuns, but it claims to represent the rights of all people, including Pashtuns.
Of course, we like some human rights. The name is, we represent, we took the miseries of Pashtuns, but wherever there is a human rights violations, we will condemn it.
Thank you. So next question is around, you talked about the states.
Could I raise, I think you raise a question very important.
Excuse me, I think you'll get time later.
Continuation of massacres.
You will,
1947.
I know.
It's not now.
Okay, you're not speaking. Can you let me handle it. Like if you start raising, every 10 people start raising, we can't have a conversation, right? So let me ask him a question, let him respond, and as I said, please make sure I have made it very clear, do not take photograph of the audience. If you cannot understand, please photo mat the audience ka. I can't speak any other language, so you have to manage that. Please don't do it, right? No photograph, no video. Now coming back to the second question for you. In terms of, you talked of the high-handed response by the state, right? In essence, Pakistan state is not the only state that does it. We see Indian state doing it, Bangladesh state doing it, various states do it. Why, in your view, is Pakistani state, when it's dealing with a movement that's very much constitution-based, rights-based, about strengthening Pakistan, why is it responding in a very high-handed manner?
Well, I think the Pakistani state would be in a better position to answer that why they were being treating us like that. But what I think, what I believe is, it is for the first time that somebody has challenged the might of the deep state in Pakistan. That's the only reason which I think. The rest is they can answer better about why are they.
Thank you. In fact, I often joked about this, that the deep state seems to have a very good ally in Narendra Modi in India. So someone like Narendra Modi is making Imran Khan and Pakistani military look more decent, and that speaks about Modi. Anyway, coming back to this, now you are here in the UK, as you can imagine. So what would you hope to gain from the Pakistani diaspora, as well as people like us who are not Pakistani but living in the UK? So what would you hope, what kind of solidarity would you expect from people here, including Pakistani diaspora?
Well, all what I would like to get from here is to support in whatever way they can all the human rights movements in Pakistan, because as before the starting of the program, as you have said that all the service is saying that the human rights situation in Pakistan is not very much good. So we have to work on it, and secondly, all the negative perceptions which have been created against PTM. So the diaspora, can play a very positive role in that. As we have talked in the start that there is a complete media blackout for PTM in Pakistan. The only tool we are using is Facebook or Twitter or other tools of social media. So in the proper Pakistan, like in the rest of Pakistan, who only watch who gets an idea and who are influenced by the state narrative which they build from their media, from their print and electronic media. So they can also play a positive role in convincing them that what actually PTM wants and what actually PTM means. Like they have been, spreading too much propaganda against us. The state media, I will talk about the print and specifically the electronic media. They have never given us any kind of coverage. The only time they talk about PTM is when they want to create or make any propaganda against us. But this diaspora,
We should be blessing in disguise.
so they can get a positive outcome from here, and if they're convinced of whatever we talk is the basic human rights. So this positive perception can also influence the minds of the people in Pakistan.
So what it means is that, we found that a lot, especially in South Asia, is that diaspora has a disproportionate influence on the perception. So in that sense, what you're hoping is people in Pakistan who live here, if they talk about PTM, right, saying that people back home would start talking about it. Fine. Now in terms of allegations of foreign funding, right, I'm asking this because not only your movement, all kinds of movement, especially independence movement, Kashmir self-determination movement, Baloch movement, Naga movement, any left-wing movement in India against Modi, even secular movements, and you have got PTM, all of us get accused of having foreign funding. When the reality, of course, is the biggest recipient of foreign funding in Pakistan, of course, is the states. They get from China, they get from South Africa, they get from the US. So I'm giving an example of India because that's where I come from originally. There was an anti-nuclear movement which was accused of being foreign funded, except that the nuclear plant was funded by Russia. So again, that's it. So there's something peculiar about or interesting and descriptive about hyper-nationalism in India, Pakistan, and I said they're separate but they're very similar in that sense, where anything that's about rights, it gets seen as foreign funded, right? But in your context, I think there's a particular argument about, the foreign, and they will name Afghanistan in particular, right? And I'm sure if someone looks at my Indian identity, they may start thinking that I have some agenda of trying to host you, which is not the case, right? So why do you think this whole desire to portray you as not indigenous, but funded by foreign comes from? Why is that the case?
Well, there is a very long history of the Pakistani establishment. It's not for the first time they're doing it. Whenever someone has been, started speaking for the rights or something against the state narrative, legend. They have been labeled with a foreign agent and a traitor and things like that. Well, we have many times presented ourselves for any kind of investigation, and we have many times asked to provide us proofs of any foreign funding. But those who are leveling in these allegations are yet to provide any kind of proof, not to us, to the media or to any other law enforcing agency. These are just allegations. And by the way, secondly, I would also like to say that for what does we need funding? Like if you have been come across the rallies of Pashtun Tahaffuz movement, except one or two rallies, we do not even place the chairs in the ground. So all the things, all the equipments which we use in our rallies are one sound system, and the rest is the people. They come on their own expenses, they spend their own money, and not more than like how much will, if you convert 1 or 1.5 lakh to, I think it is less than 1,000 pounds. It's less than 1,000 pounds, which costs us to arrange such a big rally like this one. Because the only thing which we install in these rallies are the sound system, and as I said in the start, that if you have seen the Karachi rally, it has costed us even less than 1 lakh Pakistani rupees, because nobody was giving us, nobody was allowed to give us the sound system, and we have to manage to get it in bits and pieces from one place and other place, and a container and weak sound system. That is all what costed us in arranging a rally, a massive rally in Karachi. So I do not understand that if PTM was using, let's suppose if PTM was using lavish money, was spending too much money on their events, on their activities, then one could have, asked that, said that there is something coming from somewhere. And secondly, in each rally, we, the boxes for donation, the PTM members, they goes around the entire rally and they takes donations from the people, and those donations are most of the times 5-6 times higher than what have costed us to arrange that rally.
So again, it's interesting. So what you're saying, the rallies cost less than what a general's daughter's wedding would cost. Now, one final question around Pashtun identity again. So would you say that your movement is it a PTM a movement or more rights-based thing where it's focused on extrajudicial killings? So for instance, if the Pakistani state somehow changes, democratizes, and resolve the issue of enforced disappearance, extrajudicial killing, would that be the end of the movement? And how do you relate to, let's say, the earlier Pashtun movements, including Kudaish Balgar and other movements? How do you relate to that?
Well, I think there is also some kind of base for all the movements. Like we have seen, we have talked about the Kudaish Balgar. It started against the colonial powers, but it's still going on because the problems keep changing, Today I'm facing some sort of problem. After 10 years, there might be something else. After 20 years, it might be something else. But there is always a strong base for each and every movement. In the case of Kudaish Balgars, we have mentioned that they were against colonial rule, and they kept going on, and they changed into National Awami Party, then the Awami National Party, but in one shape or other, they're still going on. So I guess the same will be the fate of PTM. The problems keeps changing. Priorities are now what I have just spoken before, the 3-4 demands. This is our priorities now, and the struggle for the human rights will keep going on.
And the final question from me is connected to what you said, is that solidarity with all oppressed identity you mentioned. the forms of repeating extrajudicial killing, of course you have that in Balochistan, of Baloch, of Sindhis, and now of course also Punjabi, which is getting more attention than the attention was there when Baloch were being disappeared. So, I mean, what kind of minefield do you have to negotiate? Because as you can imagine, in some movements they would want separation from Pakistan. Many movements would want more democratic Pakistan, right? So if, of course, if we have solidarity with those who may want separation, then you get accused of being separate. I'm just wondering, how do you politically negotiate different demands around the same issue, given that different movements have different incentives?
Well, we are focusing on our own objectives, on our own demands. Yes, but as long as human rights violations are concerned, we will condemn each and every human rights violation, irrespective of the movement, irrespective of the identity, the ethnicity. Wherever there is a human rights violation, it will condemn it.
Thank you very much. Now we have time for audience question answer. Please keep your questions to question, not comment. And we have, oh wait, let me switch it on. Wait. Okay, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 hands to start with. You want to take one by one or should I take two?
No, one by one.
One by one. The person who raised the hand there with spectacles there.
Thank you, Divesh and
Loud.
Mohsin. So my name is Asim and I'm one of the previously missing persons. So my question is slightly a bit, I'll give it a bit of a background. So we, for a fact, know that not a single civilian prime minister in Pakistan, he or she has completed his or her term in the office, whether that prime minister was elected by the people or selected by the almighty GHQ, so they have never completed their term. Yeah? Except for his first term, so please. Just that's an exception.
And let him ask the question, even if you think it's wrong, it's fine. Then
Yeah.
let him later.
So,
No,
Can
I can't
do
tell
Dal
later.
Pakistan later.
He's representing, or it's
Okay.
a totally
He
wrong
might be
question.
completely wrong, I understand.
Yeah.
Let him ask that that's his right to be wrong, and you can question him later or you can correct that question. Please go ahead and finish that question.
so a state, calling it a state is not justifiable by any, even by the Machiavellian standards, so it's basically a failed state of mind. So in a state which does not even recognize the constitution itself, like General Zia famously said that constitution is a piece of paper and I can tear it apart anytime, do you expect the state which does not, or a piece, this constitution itself, to respect the rights which is given by that constitution itself? And the last part is, secondly, I would like to suggest and know if PTM is working on the political education at the grassroots level, which is direly needed in Pakistan, because previously we used to have the primary offices of the political parties and secondary offices, but now you don't see anything at all.
Okay, thank you. So question about constitution and second
Yes.
political education, please.
In response of your first question, well, I think if everything would have been okay, then I think there won't have been any need of PTM. Things are not good, things are not going perfectly, nobody is following the law, nobody is following the constitution. Like if I take the case of the missing persons, we are not demanding, to just let them go. We are demanding a free trial for them. And it has been ensured by the Constitution of Pakistan. Now, as long as you have said that they don't, take care of the elected or selected prime ministers, we will strive for our rights. And with the people's pressure, with the support of our people, pressure which we will create and we have created up to a very big extent. And if that pressure keeps going on, I think nothing is impossible in this world. We have seen the same kind of system in Turkey, and you have seen that how things change. If people comes out for their rights, I think there is no power in this world which can collide with the power of people, with the power of masses. and with the support and the power of masses, we will force them to follow and accept whatever the demands of PTM. And secondly, the political education. If we talk in the context of the area from where we belong, the ex-Fatah, I think it was at some time one of the most apolitical area, unaware area. But because we have been through all these stages and we have seen all the political ups and downs and all the drama of bringing terrorism to a region and then launching operations against it, we have been educated by all these difficult times. And if you come and if you interact with anyone, the impacts of PTM, the only reason PTM came into being was because people had something in the back of their mind. The only need was just a slogan, someone who takes the lead and lead them towards the right direction. Yes, political education and the rest of the areas is much needed, but as long as the place, the area from where we belong, people have been educated by all these events, and almost the education is across the board. Every single child knows what happened to him and what he's supposed to do in the future.
Sorry, I have to ask a question because you are not going to let me ask.
Why?
So,
Do I know you? Just a second. Please don't pretend that I'm not letting you ask the question.
or maybe you
No,
will not.
wait,
you will
wait,
not.
wait.
But I need
wait,
to ask a question.
wait,
the question is
wait.
simple.
Excuse
You
me.
are here against the military establishment of Pakistan, right?
So you
That's what
can
I get.
chant
Excuse me.
Jai Dada Pakistan.
That's what I get, right? The gentleman even said that the operation in the Fatah was against Pashtun. Let me show you your Twitter account and let me show you what you said. No. We demanded operation.
Please let him go.
We demanded operations
Yes.
in North Waziristan because it's responsibility of the state to
Yes.
establish its right and secure
Yes.
lives of the people.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So this is hypocrisy that on one side you say, oh, we are demanding the operation, and now you are saying, oh, it is because of the military operation. You are a
You
hypocrite.
can calm
You
down.
are
the
a
question?
hypocrite. That's all.
Ask the question, please.
This is the question.
It's all right, it's all right.
Yeah, this is the question.
Have a seat, please.
This is not the question.
This is not the question.
We invited him. Take out.
But you have to come down.
Wait.
There are
Now,
rules
Take
and
out
laws.
him.
Go to your seat.
Come down.
I'm not going to-
Now,
Take out him. Take out him.
in a way, I mean, okay.
Every general is Pashtun. I am Pashtun. Zabukhtunima.
تلاقي
Zabukhtunima. Zabukhtunima.
Okay, fine, listen. Can I wait now? Wait, no,
ليه
wait.
Pashtun?
He made his point.
Pashtun is the credit that I
Fine. You made your point. That is hypocrite, right? I mean, you made your point now. Now, can all of you please keep quiet? Listen.
Take him out.
Man,
Take
leave
him out.
it.
No, take him out. You have to
out.
take him out. You have to take him out.
Listen.
Take him
No,
out.
he's creating trouble. You have to take him out.
You are not even from Pakistan.
Now,
Pakistan. I know you. Yeah, you're not from Pakistan. You're not from Pakistan.
now,
Most of them are not even from Pakistan. راجع كمان جواب راجع كمان دي وجه
just a second. Wait, you've made your point and okay.
Take him out.
No, I'm chairing, you're not chairing, he's not chairing.
No.
Wait, please.
He's creating mess. He's creating
Let
mess.
him create whatever he creates if you don't give him
Why?
attention.
Why?
That's what he wants. He wants attention. Leave it. Now, Wait. Okay, leave it. Okay, wait. Ek minute. Can you look at me, please? You made your point. Finish, right?
Yes.
Let him answer.
I'm letting him answer.
No. Okay. Ek minute. Can you please leave me to deal with this? You know. Okay. Wait. Let him answer and bear in mind what they are doing is what you did, which is when I asked you that I'll give you the opportunity, you started shouting. Wait. That's what you did, and you know that. So you have asked a question? Leave it. Can all of you keep quiet? This is what I've dealt with whenever I've dealt with Palestinians and Israel. Half of it is manufactured. Leave this. Let him. He asked a question.
What do you mean by that?
I'll tell you what it is. Now, I'll tell you what's manufactured. You ask a question and let you answer the question. Let him answer. Now, all of you, please leave it.
Quiet.
I would like to answer, but I would also like to keep a bit quiet for some time when I answer.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yes. Let me answer. Yes. This is my speech. Please. Let me answer it, please.
He's smart enough to answer. He has dealt with various bigger things than these questions. Let him answer.
Yes, this is my pitch because we were left on the mercy of terrorists from all over the world by the Pakistani state for more than 15 years. Was the Pakistani state sleeping? And as long as the treaty is concerned, yes, my demand was before the PTM was to launch operation against the militants, not against the markets, the homes, and the properties of the Pashtuns living there. All what they have done is they have destroyed the markets. They have taken away. They have stolen the goods in the shops in that markets. They have stolen the blankets, the freezers, the air conditions in our homes. One more thing. Let me complete.
Which you approved.
He's answering question.
One more thing. I have submitted a question in National Assembly of Pakistan that please provide me the details of all the militants that have been killed or injured or arrested in that military operation. The state of Pakistan and the National Assembly and the Defense and the Interior Ministry has failed to answer me till now.
Who are you?
You made your point.
Right?
Sir, you made your point. You made your point.
There are 67 children inside this.
You made your point.
Killed by drone attack. Drones are the only messiah for the people of Waziristan, killing the high-profile militants. So the killing high-profile militants are 67 children, right? This is another one.
Actually, why? You're threatening me. I feel threatened by your. I feel threatened by your. I feel threatened by your. Can you please? I'm not Thank you. I feel threatened by you. Thank you.
Go, Gurhan, go, Gurhan, go.
Take him out.
He's leaving. Let him leave. Please don't make any noise. You're going to create problems for us. Yes, please.
Yes.
They'll work outside. Fine. And can you all please stop? Let him have 30 seconds and then go. Will I see go? Thank you. And no. And please don't. So, thank you.
Started with the
Let's calm down. Let me have water now.
And also calm down.
Okay, let me give you context why we have Wait. You know, we are in UK University. It's important that, and I've had that in the past with the law, if one person creates trouble and we react. Reaction might be the right one, but the moment it becomes disruptive, the security will think, oh, there's a big headache, and next time with this kind of event, we'll be asked to scrutinize 10 times, right? So I'm just telling you why I always ask people not to shout or protest, because he will say I was bullied by you all and bullied by me, and then we complain, the university will start looking into it. So this is how things function. And individuals like him want trouble so that there are no future events like this. Just be careful, that's why I'm asking. Okay, there was a question there and we'll come to you all. The first one was one with maroon sweater there. Yes, you, please. And please keep it brief and no sloganeering. Yeah. Okay, it's sloganeering, but it's okay.
How PTM is different than ANP, first, and secondly, who was the genius who invented the slogan, "Jino Deshat Gardi hai." Iske piche gardi hai.
Well, PTM is a civil rights movement against the war, against the atrocities imposed by the state. AP is a political history with a political party with a very long history, and PTM is not a political party. As long as the creator and of this slogan is concerned, there are too many people who are claiming it, that it's me who have invented this slogan. But I don't know that who was the one. But it's a bit, it's very old. It's not new. It's almost, I think, yes, it's very old. I really don't know. Too many people claim it, but I don't know who it is.
Okay, thanks. No, we'll come to you. Don't be. Yes, the two people here. I'll come to you later. No, here. Yes, two of them. Yeah, keep questions like that. We'll brief and we'll have that. Two of you, but
thank you. My name is Mohsin. As you mentioned that might be the only person who has challenged the teacher directors. I think there are dozens of organizations who challenge the teacher directors and now they are in rallies. My question is that your most of concern is relevant to the military establishment as the teacher director, as you mentioned. But how the critical parties in parliament are supportive to your manifesto, especially the political parties who are representative of Pashtun, Baloch and other suppressed community in the parliament. And second part of the question is that the slogan is being raised here. We all believe that there is a huge sacrifices of our security forces when it comes to against war against terror. I think it's not appropriate way to demand our right. The people who belong from Pashtun community, Punjab, Sindhi and other communities, they are also fighting, they have lost their life in the war and terrorism. I think you are the person who can differentiate your mission instead of just labeling the jo varti hai,
thank you.
What was the first
first part of your question.
Other political party like Baloch and other party, how do they relate to the movement?
Yes. Well, first of all, the slogan, it is not a PTM slogan. To make it very clear, it is not a PTM slogan. Yes, people come in or rallies and they chant this slogan, but this is not a specifically slogan made by PTM. The political parties in Pakistan, we have been we have discussed all these things with Dr. Mengal Saab, and almost most of the demands specifically about missing persons are almost the same, and we are very much agreed on presenting a bill. The bill which I discussed in my talk was letter I shared it with Dr. Mengal Saab, and he also said that we can jointly present it. The rest of the political parties, PML is very much compromised. PTI, it is like, what will I talk about them? But People's Party, yes, Bilal Bhutto has been very much supportive, and he has always supported and talked in the favor of PTI.
Okay, and the question next, and then I have to go here.
My name is Talha Masood. I come from Pakistan Civil Services, presently posted at Quetta. My question to...
इसके पीछे वर्दी है ये जो दुआ कर दी है